Good afternoon, Shanghai Vanka Bilingual School administrators and teachers. It's wonderful that everybody came to this afternoon's professional development. I love seeing Chinese and Western administrators as well as Chinese and Western teachers intermingling and sitting at different tables. You're going to be working together today in pairs, possibly trios and maybe groups. We'll see about the numbers and see how that goes together. Today we're going to be learning about student-centered pedagogies. Some synonyms for student-centered pedagogy are learner-centered pedagogy, student-centered learning, and learner-centered education. So these are all very similar terms if you put them into Google. Student-centered pedagogy was advocated by Dewey, who was very influential during the progressive movement, and it's a bit more expansive than just a few teaching strategies and methods. We're going to look at a brief timeline of the potential origins of student-centered pedagogy, and then the more concrete origins of which we're aware, beginning with Confucius, very appropriate for this environment since he was Chinese as well, and then moving on to Socrates during a very philosophical period in ancient Greece, and then on to Francis Bacon and John Locke during the Enlightenment in Europe, also a very humanistic period of time, moving away from the collective, going more towards the individual, which was being reflected in education. Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Emile, which some of you may be familiar with, also the basis for Montessori education. Moving on to Dewey, who was, again, very important during the progressive movement. And then Vygotsky, the creator of the zone of proximal development, talking about the gap between what learners do and don't know, as well as socio-cultural theories. His works became famous in the 70s after they had been translated into English. So groups, we're going to do a value ranking from 1 to 7. First being most important, 7th being least important. These are different values related to student-centered pedagogy proposed by Michel Schweiswerth. And next to each bullet point is the value. So partners and trios, possibly groups. Can you please make a list from 1 to 7 and choose which value is most important, number 1, and least important, number 7, and then the other numbers in between, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to circulate the room and get your opinions as groups, trios, and pairs. And I hope to hear some different opinions. Great activity. I definitely heard some different opinions about the 7 different values. So now we're moving on to diagrams that compare teacher-centered learning and student-centered learning. If you notice with the teacher-centered learning, this is actually the model that is more popular in our environment at Shanghai Vanka Bilingual School. This is more common. The teacher is the holder and the master of knowledge, and they're in a bit of a superior position while the students are subservient. In contrast, we have student-centered learning, where beliefs, experience, and knowledge are shared among teachers as well as students, and activities as well as ideas are in more of a co-creation mode, and teachers take a step back and are not in that high level sort of guru position. They're not the holders of knowledge. They share knowledge with the students, and they're more at an equal level. So pairs and trios, I want you to please read the questions next to the bullet points before we watch the Edutopia video. The Edutopia video shows student-centered learning being successfully implemented in a high school in America that serves learners who are considered underperforming because their standardized test scores are low. So again, please go over the questions before we watch the video.
I quickly found out that my traditional model of teaching was not actually effective. So at that time, I realized I needed to make a shift, and I wanted to start by getting rid of the lecture at the beginning of my class. The instructional model that I started implementing, there are 3 components: blended learning, self-paced structure, and mastery-based grading. What you would see today is really a controlled chaos environment. You have some students starting a new lesson, watching an instructional video, taking their guided notes. You have other kids working on actual lesson assignments, collaborating on whiteboards, really problem solving. And then you'll see other students working on exit tickets to achieve mastery.
The video instruction makes me feel like I've been able to clone myself. Instead of needing to explain a concept and then re-explain the concept and then say it again, I'm giving the instruction on the video, which frees me up to work one-on-one or in small groups.
In our model, if a student is experiencing distress and needs emotional support, it doesn't disrupt the larger classroom environment. I'm able to pivot and work with that student, discuss what's going on, while the other students are able to access the content and flourish.
Some benefits of learner-centered pedagogy are that students are put in the role of a teacher, and as we know through Bloom's taxonomy, when students can teach content or skills, that is reaching a very high level cognitively, which is far superior to rote memorization. Also, students and teachers performing for each other is an equal distribution of energy, so you don't have an exhausted teacher at the end of the day or exhausted students. Also, similar to what I said for the first point, students get to practice certain metacognitive skills such as advanced communication, cross-cultural skills, and as well as problem-solving skills. I've given you some advantages of student-centered pedagogies as well as shown you the Edutopia video. So I want to elicit from pairs and trios and groups some potential disadvantages of student-centered pedagogies being implemented here at Shanghai Vanke Bilingual School. I've given you 2 potential disadvantages just to get everybody started. And with your pair or trio, I want you guys to brainstorm for number 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to walk around, circulate, get ideas, and share amongst the groups. Let's get started. All right, I heard some very good potential disadvantages, ones I didn't think of, so that was great. Partners, trios, you're all doing well. Again, I really like it. The Chinese administrators, Western teachers, you're all intermingled and working with each other, which is what I wanted for this workshop. Now we're going to move on to a variation of a jigsaw activity for this workshop. We have 2 case studies of student-centered learning being implemented in the States by districts. So we have partner 1, this is your case study 1, so you're going to become familiar with this so you can teach it to your partner. Partner 2, this is your case study, and you're going to become familiar with it and teach it to partner 1. I have printouts that I'm walking around and giving to everybody, so you can look at it on the screen as well as on paper. I'm going to circulate and see how everyone is doing and how your jigsaw activity is going. Let's get started. So for those of you who are sold on the idea of student-centered pedagogy happening here at our school, we have a couple of steps that we would need to take. We need to be going to some of the international school conferences that are offered around Shanghai. They're very helpful, and a lot of them are based, a lot of them have student-centered pedagogy themes. We also need to be compensating teachers through the district for their online classes related to student-centered pedagogies, and also finding ways to give incentive and positive reinforcements to teachers who are currently using student-centered pedagogies. Thank you for attending this afternoon's workshop, and if you would like to read further on student-centered pedagogies, here are the references where I got my information from. So thank you so much for coming.